Hello, hello. It's Saggy Joe. A little bit earlier for the day, but there's a few things that I've caught on recently, and I really wanted to talk about them. One of them is this heartbroken teen speaks out after take care of Maya verdict. Now I can explain this, or we can. But I think watching the clip initially will help explain everything. Basically, this girl when she was young was diagnosed with a certain disease, but it was misdiagnosed as another disease, and it caused great grief in the family. So without further ado, I'll just start the video.
A teenager breaks down as she's awarded $261 million from one of the nation's most prestigious hospitals, which she blamed for her mother's death. Maya Kowalski's David and Goliath battle became one of the most watched Netflix shows of the year.
I just wish people would believe me.
Now, 18-year-old Maya speaks with Inside Edition about her bittersweet win.
If I got to choose between 261 million or my mom, I'd pick my mom. You know, you could put $1 billion in front of me cash, I'd still pick her.
As a child, Maya was diagnosed with an
So this is just going into more of the impact that this has, especially on the victim in question. And then we're just going to continue with the rest of the video just to kind of elaborate on everything.
agonizing condition called CRPS, or Complex Regional Pain Syndrome. In 2016, she was admitted to Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital in St. Petersburg, Florida. But hospital staff suspected Maya's mother, a nurse, of Munchausen syndrome by proxy when a parent fakes or exaggerates a child's illness to get attention. Child Protective Services were notified, and Maya's mom, Beata Kowalski, was ordered to have no contact with her still hospitalized daughter.
They made up a lot of lies about my mom.
What do you think she went through?
She was tormented. The mental warfare that they put her through, it was insane.
3 months later, Maya's mom took her own life, leaving this suicide note. I'm sorry, but I no longer can take the pain being away from Maya and being treated like a criminal. Her husband called 911.
Do you think she's beyond any help?
Beyond.
So that's a devastating situation that we have right now, and it's just really depressing to hear that about such a renowned hospital. John Hopkins is very famous for its healthcare and its progress in research, and it's the one of the hospitals to be working at, especially if you're a researcher or even a doctor, right? So it's very unfortunate that this is something that happened, but I will comment on this as soon as we finish the video because there is sort of a happy ending.
Yes.
The family sued the hospital on numerous claims, including the medical kidnapping of Maya and causing severe emotional distress. A jury awarded them the $261 million in damages. But Maya, who still wears her mother's jewelry, would trade in the money in a heartbeat to have her back.
There really isn't a day that goes by that I don't think about her.
The hospital tells us its first responsibility is to the child brought to them for care, adding they're required by law to report suspected child abuse. They also say they stand behind what they call their staff's, quote, compassionate care.
This is a tough one because I have a lot of relatives in healthcare, but this is what healthcare means to me. Everyone's life is important, no matter what kind of failures you have, either as a surgeon or as a doctor. Those are lives you're affecting, and each one matters. Just because this is the one case out of 1,000 or whatever have you, doesn't make this okay. It's still unacceptable because this is the level of standard that we are paying you for, especially in America. Y'all are getting a lot of money. You should be held to a higher standard. That goes with a lot of other people. But it's kind of ironic how when you get more money, you're actually held to a lower standard. It's kind of interesting how it turns out that way sometimes. But this one angers me because I've actually been fucked around by the healthcare system as well. When I first got my injury, all the doctors just told me to stop being a pussy, right? My back injury. All the doctors just told me to suck it up, right? and that did fuck all. My back hurts now, and now the rest of my body is following suit. This 30-year-old, I'm just reaching 30, but my body feels like it's 40 to like 50. It's breaking down, and I just get new pains every day. And if I had just the proper care when I was young, this wouldn't have happened. Now I'm not comparing my case to this teen in particular, because uh complex complex regional pain syndrome, it's rare, so it's not going to be your first point of it's not going to be first point of analysis, especially because there's a lot more people who are guilty of Munchausen syndrome by proxy. You are desperate to get some kind of attention. It's not even good attention sometimes. It's just attention that you keep bringing your child in even though they're not ill or sick. Because the syndrome that the girl in question has, it's not something that's very, very common. So it's not something that they thought of. However, I don't know the details, but the mother being a nurse as well does create like a huge conflict of interest, and it is perhaps very common for people in the medical field to also have their children be treated a little too often and just for the attention. It's possible because of the conflict of interest. Having said that, they should have still done their due diligence. You really need to rule out a lot of factors before you start accusing someone of being abusive, because that's life changing. And here it was life ending. It took a life. A loving mother who was doing right by her kid and did everything right. And she couldn't bear that pain. The pain to know that you are innocent, but to be treated as a criminal. This is kind of pain that people don't really understand. But because this happened to me a few times, which is why I can relate. When you stand for something and you get accused of another thing, it hurts. You almost just want to lose faith in humanity and just end everything. Like, what's the point of living if you live a certain lifestyle, if you stand by certain principles and you uphold them with integrity and duty and obligation, and people just shatter that down because of some fluke incident that has nothing with you to, that's not within your control. There are so many people who are being arrested for no reason. And that's why there's been a lot more criticism towards the police. But I feel the medical field is not explored enough. We have a lot of people who are way too prideful, doctors, nurses, whatever have you, and it's kind of it's frustrating, because these people in the medical field, there's a stereotype. Those bullies become police, the dudes, and the mean girl bitches become nurses. It's not an easy job. It's very easy to fall out of compassion, be burnt out, and just not take anyone seriously the way you should, right? Hell, that's the reason why I'm not in the field, because I get burnt out in like 2 fucking days. Oh, you're in here for a headache again? You know what I mean? Like, I'd be exasperated personally, so it's a good reason why I'm not in the field, right? I know that that's my limits, but a lot of these people are in it and they think they know better. They always do, and for the most part they do, but you also have to have a little bit of humility as a medical profession, especially when you don't know what's happening, because instead of telling me what's wrong with me with my back, they just told me to suck it up. That's not a solution. It exacerbated a problem, and now I try to live my life knowing that I'll be, based on the pain that I feel sometimes, I'm so worried that I'll be disabled soon, that my body won't be able to handle the pain, because when I first got it, I couldn't even leave my bed. But to lose your mother to suicide because of the ignorance of the medical professionals it's something else. You should take your patient's worries into account, if especially if they find something. Thankfully, I had a good family doctor who was always very, very understanding. But that's not always the case with everyone, right? I've had more shitty doctors than I've had good doctors, and it's just the reality. You sometimes have to fend for yourself. I'm not saying that you go do your own research and then all of a sudden you're better than the doctor. No. Even doctors need second opinions. Even doctors need a second opinion. They might recognize symptoms, but they might not be able to diagnose the problem, right? That's why second opinions do exist. Now, you have to understand doctors are just as human as you and I, and they're prone to errors. And especially something like this where it looks like it's child abuse because the girl is just experiencing a lot of pain, right? The mom's a nurse. It could be a kind of drug. She could be beating the shit out of her child and just giving her painkillers, and that's causing the syndromes, the symptoms that are manifesting, right? You don't know. You really don't know. And I do understand where the medical professionals are coming from, and I do understand John Hopkins' double down statement saying that they stand by what the medical professionals are doing. But I sincerely hope that the medical professionals there feel the guilt of being the cause of agony to this family for their own hubris, and that they didn't take the time to really listen to the problems and didn't take the time and the compassion to understand the situation, and didn't take the time and compassion to realize when you pull out especially a mother from their child's life and treat them like a criminal, that this is a result. She committed suicide. You helped it. In the end of the day, it is their decision, but let me ask you, would she have made that decision had you made yours? I truly hope, sincerely hope, those in John Hopkins who were part of this, learn from this, get better, and just help that this never happens again. This is not acceptable. This is not the standard that we should have. You should never be satisfied or be content with a situation like this. It should always be zero. Full stop. There should never be one or two incidents. It should be zero. And and like I said, I sincerely hope those medical professionals that made the decision understand what they did wrong and make sure and ensure that this never happens again. Because $261 million, that's a lot of money, right? But that's not going to replace a life. And a lot of people are going to say that's life-changing money. What's the point of having all that money when you don't have anyone to enjoy it with? Make that very clear. It's $250 million. Probably going to lose some to taxes. Still not going to replace her life. What's an 18-year-old girl going to do with $260 million? Realistically. If anything, she's very at risk of falling down a very dark path. And it's all thanks to you. That took $261 million that you're paying this girl, this 18-year-old girl. Could be done for research, for the betterment of humanity. But now all this money is doing is picking up the pieces. I don't know how your donors would feel knowing that some of their money is being donated to a situation you could have prevented. Just make that very clear. This is not a good and easy situation for anyone, but I will always hold medical professionals to a higher standard because they get paid more than we do. They go through more rigorous training than we do, and they should have known better. Alright. It's a little bit more serious video, but I hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much. Later days.